Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of October 27th through November 2nd. Today is Saturday, November 2nd. Oh, I forgot to check that before I started recording. This week was very stressful. But today is nice and cool. So I'm very happy with that. We were supposed to get a little bit of rain, which would have made it an even better day for me. But unfortunately, the chances of rain weren't enough to get it to actually rain. And so, yeah, what do we have to talk to you about today? I finished a couple of books, so we'll do a little bit of a wrap up. I have started 2 new books, so I'll let you know what those are. I have a small Yarnie update to talk to you about my Readalong, Knitalong project. I have a little bit of a yarn haul because I have my Twilight Countdown to Halloween final skein to open with you, and then my Helping Hippos from Lolodidit also came in. So I'll show you what that skein looks like as well. And then we'll wrap it up at the end. So let's get into it. 2 books this week. So the first book I finished was Lois Duncan's Gallows Hill. So this is a story about a girl who ends up moving to Pinecrest because her mom has started dating someone and just totally out of character picks up her life and moves them to this new state, quits her job, becomes basically a homekeeper, which is not like her because she's very occupation minded. She was really good at what she did, which was being a teacher. She got awards for it, but now she's like a completely different person. And her daughter just is not very happy with the whole situation. And every time she tries to talk to her mom about how different things are and some of her concerns, the boyfriend steps in and it's just a big old mess, right? So she's having to start over at this new school, which is in a small town, and there's lots of people who are like fascinated with her, but at the same time kind of want to kind of take her down a peg because of who her mom is dating and the fact that his daughter also goes to that school. And there's just some little backstory behind there that I'm not going to get into. But in any case, they end up getting her to help them with their school fair at Halloween time by having her be like a fortune teller. And like the ruse of her being a fortune teller and knowing all of this stuff about people that she just met, they thought would be an interesting concept. And as she's doing this and trying to like make friends and things like that, she starts to see actual visions. And so the story kind of follows her kind of trying to figure out what is happening to her and how all the kids start reacting to what she is experiencing and things like that. So I was introduced to this story years ago when this book was made into a TV movie adaptation. I believe the movie is called I've Been Waiting for You. And it was like the early 90s or early 2000s or late 1990s. I think it was like 1999 late, if it was still in the 90s. This book wasn't published until like 1997, I believe, which I didn't know at the time because I had read Lois Duncan a lot when I was growing up, and most of the books that I read from her were in the 80s, and so I just presumed that this book was published in the 80s, but this book was published in 1997. And in any case, I really, really enjoyed the TV movie at the time. And so I decided to go ahead and pick up the book, and I never read it. And so I thought, you know what, now's the perfect time. It's got those vibes. It's about like a town that's has history steeped in witches and things. And so, yeah, it was an entertaining read. I definitely had issues with how the parents in this story, not only just our main character's parent, but the person she's dating who's a parent, his daughter's mother, who's also a parent, some of the parents of the other children in the school, how they react to things, the teachers at the school and how they react to things. Really, really bad examples of how adults should act. And I really wanted to give them all kicks in the butt. Really, really irritated me how they handled things. I enjoyed like the mystique of the story with the visions and what was going on with that, but I will say that it's not really a like mystery as to what's going on with her visions, because there is a prologue in this story which kind of gives you the answer to that if you decide to pick this up. And so, yeah, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It was entertaining, perfect for this time of the year. It does deal with witches and kind of the lore of and the historical references to what happened in Salem are also included in this. And so, yeah, I enjoyed my experience with it, but I think I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more had I read it right after I had watched the TV show. I haven't actually found the TV movie yet because I would like to watch it again. I am pretty sure there are some differences between the book and what I had watched, but it was so long ago that I don't quite remember. But I would like to watch it now that I have read the source material. And so, yeah, 3-star read. And then I had a little bit of time at the end of the month left, and so I decided to spend it on my annual read of In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories Retold by Alvin Schwartz and Pictures by Dirk Zimmer. I read this for the first time when I was, I don't know, 1st or 2nd grade. I was really, really young, and it has been a continuous favorite of mine. I like to try to read this at least once a year. It's just little 2-3 page short stories that are illustrated. So kind of like this. I don't want to like open up to any of the short stories because the stories are that short, but really, really memorable stories for me. Definitely takes me back to when I was a kid. Absolutely introduced this collection to my daughter as soon as I could. And it's just one of my absolute favorite reads. Highly recommend, if you have not checked out this collection of short stories, definitely check it out, even if you don't have kids, because they are just some charming stories. I have a favorite in here. It's called The Girl with the Green Ribbon. Apparently it's called The Green Ribbon, and it's about a girl who wears a green ribbon around her neck. Apparently it is a pretty popular or well-known tale, but I had never heard about it until I had read this collection. So I did read another edition of this one last year. They re-released this collection of short stories as illustrated by someone else. And I will have to say that after reading this illustrated edition for so many years, I much prefer the illustrations by Dirk Zimmer. But the stories are the same. It was available for me on Hoopla last year with a like narrated audio track. So if you would like to have the book read to your child or to you, you could have that done. Like I said, the illustrations are different. It does definitely make it more of a like cute, scary, more like I would say spoopy. I guess that's the term for it nowadays. Than this. These illustrations are definitely a little bit more spine chilling. You can see like even with this character right here, he does look more sinister, right? But highly enjoyable collection of stories. I enjoyed this one a lot. 5-star read every single time. And so, yeah, highly recommend In a Dark, Dark Room. And so that's how I finished out my month of October. So what did I start? I started Death Behind Every Door, which I believe is the first book in the Blackbird Files by Heather Graham. This is one of her newest series, and it follows a team of investigators who are trying to find the members of this society called the H.H. Holmes Society, who are serial killers. They have killed people. They have a ruse. All of them are connected to this like society. And so we have a group of investigators trying to find the root of this society. And I'm listening to this one on audio, borrowed from Hoopla. It's enjoyable. Definitely makes reference to other characters from the Crew of Hunters series. And I've only read 2 books from the Crew of Hunters series, so I'm not quite sure like how well this series connects to Crew of Hunters, but I know they had referenced a couple times the Crew of Hunters already in this book. So far, it's a really, really good murder mystery, investigative type of story with a little bit of a supernatural element. There are some spirits and things in play throughout the story, but it's not a supernatural investigation type story, at least not up to this point where I'm at. It's more of a like a traditional murder mystery investigation with a little bit of your occasional ghost popping up to have conversations. They are in Edinburgh in this particular installment, so I'm enjoying the setting very much. And yeah, so far it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. I'm 51% done, so I should be finishing that up within the week. And so I'm looking forward to getting through that one. I probably want to go back to the Crew of Hunters as well, because the next installment that I'm up to has to do with Jack the Ripper, and I have lots of interest in Jack the Ripper and all of those things. I've seen lots of documentaries on Jack the Ripper, and so I'm kind of curious to see like how the more supernatural element comes into play with the Crew of Hunters, because in that series it's much more a supernatural investigation as the focus of what they do. And so, yeah, so far, really good. I'm enjoying it. And then the book that I decided to pick up physically was Key of Knowledge, which is the second book in the Key trilogy by Nora Roberts. I am reading this as part of my friend Storm Reads. Readalong, well, it's not a read-along, it's like a reading event throughout the month of November. She does Nora November, and it's basically read Nora Roberts books in November. And I had started this Key trilogy earlier this year, and I always meant to go back to it, and I really wanted to finish it up this year, and I haven't read book 2 yet. So now we're 2 months away from the end of the year, and I really want to try to finish this series before the year is over. And so I'm reading Key of Knowledge. I am 3 chapters in right now. I'm like 11%. It's good. It's a continuation, right? Picks up right where we finished. Key of Light, I think, is the first book. And so, yeah, just getting back into it. Reconnecting with the characters that I had met in the first installment. And I'm enjoying it so far. So that's where I'm at with my reading. I don't know if I'm going to go back to Feed by Mara Grant this year, because we're starting to head into more of the like holiday type feels. And I kind of have been thinking about trying my hand at some holiday romances this year. I still am feeling like I don't know what I like. And I talked about this a little bit in this week's like what I've been warming video, where I watch other people's videos, right? And I hear them talk about these books that if I had just like seen it on the shelf at a store, or it had come across my feed, if I had seen it advertised somewhere, I probably wouldn't have given it a second glance. But I watch a lot of channels that don't have the same reading taste as me, just because I like to hear about books. I like to hear people's enjoyment for things that they're reading. And somewhere along the way, I started talking myself into the fact that, oh, if they enjoyed it, and the way that they talk about it makes it sound like it would be something that I would enjoy, I should probably check it out. And that has sent me down this like road of me trying out a whole bunch of things that I should not have even picked up to begin with. So I have a little bit of an issue with the channels that I watch. Not all of them, but a good portion of them, that I need to kind of reevaluate what I'm picking up and why. And I do occasionally like my holiday like romances. I don't read them a lot. In fact, it's been several years since I've read one. But I'm kind of feeling like maybe I should give it a go this year, because I do enjoy a good Hallmark Christmas movie. I enjoy them a lot. I watch them a lot. But I don't read holiday romances, and that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to try it this year. I have a couple that I've kind of researched and I think they should be okay for me. And so I'm kind of wanting to try that. So I think Feed might be on the back burner for me to try again in the new year and just start fresh, and in a time of the year where it's not necessarily connected to things that I normally read. And so, yeah, I don't have intentions on picking up Feed again for the rest of the year. But we'll see what I do decide to pick up for the rest of this month and in December. I am still planning on doing my manga advent calendar project, because that is always fun for me. I always enjoy the manga selections that I end up reading in December. And manga always gets higher ratings in general from me than novels do. So that's the plan. That is the plan. And so we're just going to play it by ear from here on out and see what I decide to pick up. And hopefully I can get my 52 books done by the end of this year. I am behind. Well, I think I'm like on track right now, but normally by October, I've hit my 52 novels. So novel reading has fell off the wayside a little bit for me this year, but that's okay. I'm still at the point where I have the ability to continue reading and make my 52 book goal before the end of the year. So I'm going to continue to strive to do that. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to say about my reading at this point. So let's get into the Yarnie update. So I guess we'll start with my I Smell Children project bag. This is my Readalong, Knitalong project for the Readalong, Knitalong that M's Books Are Everywhere was hosting in October. I did not do very much. I didn't even put the marker. I think I was 2 repeats in last time I talked to you, so I've got this much done. I did not do very much knitting this week. It was a very stressful week at the office. I put in a lot of overtime hours, and I was just not feeling this project as much as I love the way it's looking. And the yarn, I've talked to you about this before. I don't think I enjoy knitting socks. And I think that's where my big problem with this is. It's socks. And I've done a lot of socks lately. And I have lots of unfinished socks. But I really, really think that I'm a garment knitter. Garments is where it's at for me, and I have lots of motivation to do garments. But I've been preventing myself from doing garments or even finishing the garment projects that I have currently on the sidelines because I felt like I needed to get these projects done first because they were for specific things. So like I had my Olympic socks, which I only have one of. I've got this one where I've got one and some done. I have my socks from Florida from last year that I took with me, the little Muppet socks that I never finished. I've just got like 4 or 5 pairs of socks that have like one side done and not the other. And I feel like, oh, you can't like do another project for yourself if you haven't cleared some of these off of your needles. And it's like this big like block for me. Like this week, all I really wanted to do was take up my Mostly Ghostly sweater and work on it. But I'm like, oh, you need to get this done first because this Readathon Knitalong thing is finishing by October. And I felt like if I didn't pick this up, that I couldn't pick up the other one. I know it sounds dumb. But that's just how my brain was working. And I was just so exhausted that I didn't like even argue with myself and say like, no, you can do that. Just do it. And no, I've got too much stress on me. I couldn't even think about arguing with myself on that. And I was like, if you're not going to work on this, you shouldn't be working on anything. And so I didn't. And so, yeah. I thought about picking up this project last night and I couldn't even talk myself into actually doing it. I mean, it was like literally right next to me and I couldn't even find the motivation to pick it up. And so, I don't know. I feel like this year's like work stress is really, really coming down hard right now. We are in our most busiest time of the year. The last quarter of the year for me is very, very busy. Even the first couple weeks of January is very busy just because we're trying to finish up some projects. But it's already started and now we just got word that there's going to be some workload changes and they're going to tell us something about that this week. And so I'm having a difficult time with my crafting and my motivation for things. And so I never got this done. As much as I love how it looks, garments are calling to me right now. And so, yeah. I will eventually get this done. I mean, there are times where I do definitely want to knit and I don't have a lot of time. So I could do like 4 rows and be done. Just give it a little bit of work, but I didn't do it. So, yet another half-finished project. These are the Incantation socks by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast. Let me show you the full sock. Done in Lolodidit, which is Brew colorway, in her Plush Sock base, which I don't believe is available anymore. With heels and toes in the Cascade Heritage, like electric purple. That's the word I'm looking for, electric purple. I love how this looks. I just can't get myself to make it, like finish the project. And I don't know what's wrong with me. And so, yeah. With that being said, though, I do have a garment project that I've been thinking about for Advent this year. I know I told you last week that I have received my yarn Advent calendar this year. And it is a yarn calendar that's themed on one of my absolute most favorite Christmas movies. And so I want the project that goes with it to like make sense, you know? So last year I had the Residents of Haunted Mansion advent calendar, and I just picked a project and put in the rows as I opened them, which was fine in the aftermath because the colors kind of blocked. They kind of all went in an order where it kind of made a little bit of sense, right? It does still look a bit colorful or crazy colors. That's what we call that on the islands. But I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. This year, though, I am not sure what those colors are going to look like because I've never purchased yarn from this dyer before. And I don't know what her previous yarn advents looked like. So I'm kind of in the mindset of wanting to open the advent first and then maybe shifting around some of the colors to make it more cohesive to use in a project. That being said, I do have three other yarn advent calendars that I have not used yet. One I have started, the Pineapple Yarns advent calendar from several years ago. I did start to make a flax with it, a striped flax. So that's one of the projects that's in current production. That is like snoozing on the side right now. I have two other advents that I haven't even touched. I have a 5th year at Hogwarts yarn advent calendar from Yarn Cafe Creations. And I have a My Little Pony yarn advent calendar from Yarn Cafe Creations. From what I can remember, the My Little Pony yarn advent calendar should work in a project pretty well besides one skein. I remember one of the days really stuck out and didn't really make any sense. But I could use the rest of the colors and make a nice, cohesive sweater. Now, I don't necessarily want to make a fully striped sweater again either. So I've been kind of looking around and wondering if the Paul Cleese, I think that's what it's called, sweater by Midori Hirose, would be an option, because that is just like blocks of color in the yoke, and then the rest of the sweater is just a plain contrast color. That's kind of what's been taking over my mind over the last week and what I'm thinking about for Yarn Advent project to work on this December. I'm not sure. I think there have been people that have done their yarn advent in that pattern, but it all depends on like how big, I guess, the sweater pattern size you're working on is, because that will dictate how deep your yoke is going to be and how many rows of color. So I'm kind of looking at that one. It's definitely kind of the front runner project for me. So let me know your thoughts on that. If you have made one of the Paul Cleese, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, sweaters. If you think that would be a good project to try to use a yarn advent calendar on, I would really appreciate that feedback. Or if you have any other suggestions, I would appreciate that as well. I do have a couple of videos from yarn podcasts lined up for me to watch about yarn advent projects that may give me other ideas, but for right now, that's kind of the one that's in the foreground of my mind. So yeah, you know, yarn advent opening is not that far away now. We're like, what, 4 weeks? That's not a lot of time. So I guess by the time you watch this, it's going to be like 3 weeks. So yeah, need to nail down what I'm going to do for that shortly. But in any case, now that I've rambled a bit on that, let's open my Twilight final full skein for my Halloween countdown. So this one says October 31st. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh yeah, this one totally... It could probably go with Skin of a Killer. But I don't know how well it would go with any of the other ones. Yeah, I think this would definitely go well with Skin of a Killer. But this is I Dream About Being With You Forever. And it looks like this. So lots of deep purples, which, if you know me, I'm not a purple person. I wear a lot of purple makeup, but other than that, that's pretty much where my line ends. I don't wear a lot of purple. My sister's favorite color is purple, but yeah. Very interesting. Definitely kind of gives me like Field of Flowers, kind of fall Field of Flowers vibes. And like up here is definitely got more of those lighter tones than down here. It's very, very dark and moody. But I don't think this would go with any of the other skeins besides Skin of a Killer. So I think this would have to be a one-off. But yeah, now I've got 5 skeins, 2 of which go together, 2 more that kind of go together, and an alternate like 2 that could go together. So yeah, I'm really going to have to think about what I'm going to use these skeins for. But I've been very, very happy with this countdown to Halloween collection and very excited every week to open up a new skein. And so yeah, now I just got to figure out what I'm going to use those skeins for. But I did also tell you that my Helping Hippos yarn came in from Lolodidit. And so I will share that with you now. This is the 2024 fundraiser for Hurricane Helene from Lolodidit in her USA sock base, which is 80% superwash USA and USA Rambouillet, I'm sorry, and 20% nylon. Fingering weight, and I believe this is 110 grams, 430 yards. So this is like super squishy. I've never used Rambouillet before, but it's like a really, really plump fingering weight yarn. And the colors of the speckles used are the colors that are in this label. So the Helping Hippos is always like this light gray base, and then you've got a rainbow speckle, but the rainbow tones change every time she does a Helping Hippos. So I really, really like her hippos, and Helping Hippos is just a great way to help with fundraising things. She does this quite often when there is natural disasters or things to help out with. So I have like 4 skeins, I think, of Helping Hippos from different years. Really, really happy to have been able to help out with that and get this gorgeous skein of yarn. So that is my Helping Hippos yarn in the USA sock base. And then, of course, it couldn't travel alone, so I picked up one of her Halloween yarns. This is Ghoul's Night Out, also on her USA sock base, because I thought I wanted to try this base because it is new to me, and I've never worked with Rambouillet before. But yeah, I think that's going to be excellent. And so, very, very happy with these. These skeins do seem very, very bouncy and plush. I have lots of Lolodidit yarn, and to me, this seems a lot more plush than some of the other ones that I have. So I'm excited to work with this and see what it's like. If I could afford it, I probably would have purchased a sweater's quantity of the Helping Hippos because I just think it's so gorgeous. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe I'll be able to like put together something for my size with all of the Helping Hippo skeins that I have. Though I did use one of them for a pair of socks already. So I think I only have 3 skeins left. And I don't think that's enough for a garment of my size. But yes, Helping Hippos, very, very happy with both of these skeins and excited to try Rambouillet yarn and her new USA sock base. So I think that's everything. I think that's everything to talk to you about this week. So yeah, I mentioned that they have announced some changes with the workflows. They're going to let us know what that's like this week. So I don't know how much that's going to affect what I do, because it's more for a different type of employee, and I'm not that type of employee. But we'll see. I presume it's going to have some kind of impact on what I do, because I do work with those employees that are under that title. So we'll see. We'll just have to see. But I hate this waiting game. You know, it's that time of the year, like I said, when our desks are the busiest. So all the stress has started to pile on. I put in a lot of overtime hours this past week. And, you know, changes at this time of the year are not welcome. But it is what it is. I'm still trying to navigate my whole new, like, hourly employee stuff. So, like, checking in and turning in my timesheet and all of this stuff that I haven't had to do in 20 plus years. So, yeah. I don't even know. Like, it just is what it is. And I've got to deal with it. And so, yeah, it hasn't been a fun week. Halloween was quiet. It was very quiet around the neighborhood. But we don't have a lot of kids that live around us. And so, yeah, it is typically a nice and quiet night. We watched some Halloween movies. We watched the Haunted Mansion movie, the newer one, which I much prefer over the Eddie Murphy version that they came out with several years ago. We watched The Muppets Haunted Mansion, which has become an annual watch for us. Really, really enjoyable. And then we watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which was also very good. We watched that in theaters earlier this year, but we rewatched it again and enjoyed it just as much. And then on Halloween night, we actually watched the Haikyuu Dumpster Battle movie because it was released on Crunchyroll. And you know that I've already watched it like 3 times this year. Is it 3 or 4? I watched it a lot in theaters. I think it was 3. Totally enjoyable movie. So we watched it again. This time we watched it English dubbed. And I will have to say, the English dub does take a bit of the charm away from the characters. I much prefer the Japanese voice tracks to the English voice actors on Haikyuu specifically. That's not always the case, but in this particular anime, I much prefer the Japanese over the English. There's just something in the way that the Japanese voice actors deliver the lines for the characters that just make them more wholesome and more adorable and makes you want to root for them, for me, I guess. But the English voice actors kind of gave them completely different personas, which was weird for me. So, it's still a really enjoyable show, though. I enjoy it a lot. We are reading Haikyuu as part of our series reads for the Monochrome Manga Club starting this month. So I'm excited to revisit that series as well. And I think that is pretty much all I have to talk to you about today. So let me know down in the comments below what you've been up to. How was your Halloween? Was it quiet or was it fun and exciting? What have you been reading? What have you been watching? What have you been working on? I would really love to know. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me some kind of fall leaf emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.